Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to round 5 coverage of my games from the Golden State Open. Going into round 5, I was actually in pretty good shape. I was at 50%. I had 1.5 points out of the 3 games that I had played, and all my 3 opponents were higher rated. So that's a recipe for picking up some rating points. So I was feeling pretty good, but I had a long game in the morning that went the distance to the end of the second time control, and ended in a draw, which was actually somewhat of a lucky escape because my opponent settled for a draw in a winning position because he was so low on time. Anyway, and I had to come back and I had to go out and get a quick dinner and then come back and face my fifth round opponent, who was a young man rated 1905. By young man, I mean a youngster, under 18 somewhere. And actually, it turns out I played him before. I thought his name was familiar, but I couldn't remember exactly when I'd played before. But I looked it up afterwards, and as it turns out, I played him in round 5 of the 2016 Western States Open, and I did a video on that game, so you can see that game too if you're interested. It was a pretty good game. So round 5, 2016 Western States Open. Anyway, so we face off again. We had the opposite colors that time. And this time I had black, and last time he had black. So he started off with e4. And I had to think a little bit here. When I'm playing against a youngster, sometimes I avoid the main lines. They're very familiar with the e4, e5 openings, I find, and also the Sicilians. So I was looking for something other than that, although I realized later I could have still gone for something like the Con Sicilian. Probably I should try that sometime, because that's a line in the Sicilian that people aren't as familiar with as the classical lines. But anyway, for this game, I chose the French defense. So we got a lot of French defense in this tournament. Let's see, he went d4. I went d5. He went knight d2, the Tarrasch variation of the French defense. And now there's 2 main responses here. You can go with knight to f6, and this is kind of the classical response to the Tarrasch, and it leads to positions similar to the classical variation of the French defense. But the most popular move here is actually c5, and I kind of like this myself. It's a little bit different. It doesn't lead to a typical kind of French positions. In fact, the main line here usually leads to an isolated queen's pawn for black. So let's just show the main line. Usually white takes on d5, and then you take back, and then this pawn is hanging, or well, it's not hanging, but if white wants, white can take right away and give black the isolated queen's pawn immediately. But this position is pretty good for black. White doesn't have to take so quickly and can get a better position out of the opening by playing a little more slowly, I guess. Just develop the knight to f3, logical developing move, knight to c6, fighting for these center squares. Now bishop to b5, pinning the knight, bishop to d6, developing and preparing to castle, and now take. Now that this dark squared bishop has moved once, take the pawn, take back, and then we continue like this, castles, and knight to e7 to block the checks along the e file and support the knight here. Also, there may be ideas of bringing the knight forward to support this pawn coming forward. So anyway, this is an interesting isolated queen's pawn position for black. White's still better, as in most opening lines, but it's not a huge advantage, and black has open lines for his pieces, so it's a position I'd be happy to play as black. But also white should be okay with this position too. You have the typical strategies playing against the isolated queen's pawn. So that's the main line. My opponent played c3 here, which is kind of a rare move in this particular position, but we actually transpose back after a few moves into, I think, a position that could have come from the classical French or perhaps the advanced variation. He pushes e5 here. Yeah, maybe, let's see, I went knight f6, pushes e5. Yeah, maybe from the classical variation. Because after knight d7, this suddenly is a fairly common position. Let's see, he went bishop d3, and I went queen b6, just putting pressure on this pawn. And actually, I will take that pawn if allowed. The main line here is actually to let black take the pawn. It's kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and do the main line here once again. white normally would castle, black would take, white takes back, black grabs the pawn. And you might think, what is white getting for that pawn? But, well, knight f3 chases the queen around, the queen runs back. White has noticeably better development. White is castled already. All the minor pieces are out except for this bishop, and black still has trouble unwinding with this bishop being blocked in by the knight and this bishop having to move before black can even castle. And white is setting up for a quick kingside attack, so it's not clear if black is safe to castle, at least not without a few moves to make sure the kingside is safe. But on the other hand, I've had this kind of position many times as black, and I've had good results with it. You know, technically on the chess engine, it's about even, so definitely white has enough compensation for the pawn and probably good attacking chances. So you might enjoy this kind of position if you're a attacking player playing against the French. You know, just remember sometimes you can just drop that d pawn. It seems odd because you know, that is a center pawn you're giving up, but you have enough compensation there. Anyway, my opponent decided to hold on to the pawn with queen a4. So this is not in the opening book. We're just on our own here. And I think I'm okay here. I think this is about even. See, I go bishop e7, castled, I castled. I mean, it's not a blunder to hold on to that pawn or anything, but the chess engine actually prefers the pawn sack line. And that's in the opening book. Oh, just one sidelight. Speaking of the chess engine, instead of castling, the chess engine thinks the best move here is g5. So if I was Richard Rapport, I guess I would play a move like that. He seems to have the motto, if you can ever play g5, you should. But let's see, why is that a good move here? It's not obvious. Maybe the idea is to harass this knight and then try and win a pawn again. Yeah, I guess that could be it. He could, of course, stop the pawn from advancing, but I guess you could insist by pushing the h-pawn. Anyway, kind of interesting way to play, but not one I thought of. I castled. And he went rook d1. I thought maybe my strategy at this point was paying off a little bit, because I thought his next couple moves were not the best. You know, just I think that the rook more naturally would be placed on the e-file, and I think the queen is a bit misplaced over here. So, you know, this idea of playing a, you know, not that the French is a really rare opening, but avoiding the main lines of the Sicilian and the e4, e5 openings, I think was a good opening choice at this point, and I'm starting to feel pretty good about my position. Let's see, I took on d4 now, and then played f6. So typical French strategy of undermining the center. He went ahead and took on f6. I think that's a good choice. There's always this backwards e-pawn that that black can play against. I mean, white can play against. So that's also why the rook is probably better placed on e1 rather than d1. Let's see. I can take with the knight here. I mean, I would still have played the same way because my bishop is defending the pawn after the knight moves. But you know, that more immediate pressure on the e-file is sometimes useful. Let's see, and he went knight f1 now, so he's reorganizing his pieces for the king's side. And I said that his queen is kind of misplaced over here, but and my next move helps his queen get back to a better position, actually. So you can question this move, but on the other hand, you know, I need to develop that piece, and that's basically the only square that it can go to in one move. Other ideas for developing it might be, you know, moving the queen out of the way and moving the b pawn forward. So even though this helps white in a way, I probably still need to play something like that. So the queen came back here and put the rook on the c file, and the queen ran over to e2. So so I played a couple of developing moves that came with tempo, you know, chasing the queen around, and I'm still probably doing pretty good here. And the chess engine wants me to follow up a knight to b4. And I thought about this move. You know, chase this bishop off this good diagonal. Oh, wait, the bishop doesn't leave the diagonal. This is what I'd seen. I saw knight b4, bishop b1. In fact, that is correct and the best move. And I didn't really see the follow-on from this position. But this is actually good for black. And, well, if you want to see if you can spot the follow-up move, guess what the chess engine would play here as a follow-up? Okay, well, the way the chess engine wants to play is to kick the queen around, bishop to b5, and that's the move I didn't think of. But that potentially, well, I mean, the reason why I was kind of suspicious of this move is that all these squares that the knight is controlling at the moment, it can't actually go to those squares because it can just get traded off. The queen is looking at this square and the rook, so it's not going to get to those squares easily. But well, with this bishop b5 here, it's starting to become a little more possible. Let's see, the line goes queen e3, knight to g4, kicking the queen, and queen to d2. I'm not sure. This is an engine line. I'm not sure why the queen didn't just go to d2 directly. But then e5. Oh, I guess the idea was to stay on the e file as long as possible to hold back this e5 move. And e5, in fact, was something I was trying to get in this position. So pretty clever way for the chess engine to get in that e5 move and open the position up. So anyway, like I said, I thought about that knight b4 idea, but I couldn't see the follow-up. So I just played more simply, just bishop d6 here. Just I'm going to push the e-pawn forward, like I said. I'm just bringing a piece over to support that. And my opponent played bishop e3, which was kind of annoying, but a good move, because now when I push e4, he will take, and it hits my queen, and it hits these two pieces. So I cannot play e5 rather. e5 is not a move in this position. So I was kind of annoyed by that bishop there, and I played knight g4. And knight g4 is a blunder. So if you want to pause the video here, see if you can figure out why that's a blunder. Okay, I am going to give the answer away now. I played knight g4, and the answer is bishop takes h7, check. And of course, if I take the bishop, then the knight comes with check. That square is not covered, so I can't take it, and that unleashes the queen on my knight. So a very typical Greek gift type of sacrifice, except in this case it's not even a sacrifice, because I had gone to the trouble of playing knight g4, which gives him a free piece. After he sacrifices the bishop, he gets the piece back immediately, so he's just winning a pawn there. There's other moves that I could play here. I could play h6, for example, just to avoid that sacrifice. But White's doing okay here. He can follow up with knight to e5, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why knight e5 works, but yeah, on the surface. Oh, yeah, once again, it's that trick. Knight e5 would not normally be a safe move here, but if I take it, it takes back, and the bishop is hitting my queen, and the pawn is hitting my knight again. Very annoying. So, yeah, I probably need to just move my queen off of that diagonal and just try and move the pawn forward that way. Maybe queen c7. He's always got rook to c1 in those cases. Anyway, it's a game. But after knight g4, I'm definitely in trouble. I think it's worth spending a little time on this, thinking about how this kind of blunder might have happened. Notice that bishop takes h7 check is not a threat here, because the knight is defending it. So moving knight to g4 does two things. It undefends the h7 pawn, so I can only take with the king, and it puts a nice juicy target here on g4 for the queen to take. And the other thing to notice here is that the other thing I should have noticed and didn't is that White is lined up for the Greek gift sacrifice. The three elements you should always look for are the bishop looking at the h7 pawn, the knight ready to hop into g4, and the queen ready to come out on this diagonal. So those are the three elements. And what you need to do in those cases is make sure this h-pawn is either defended or out of the way by moving it to h6. And we usually deal with that sacrifice idea. But, in this position, I really did not notice that White was lined up for the Greek gift sacrifice. Usually it happens earlier, and the queen is just sitting on d1. The queen has gone on this long journey and then made its way back, and it went back to e2. But that's still on the right diagonal for this this sacrifice. So that's one point. One point is that it's not in the air right now. Another point is I didn't think to look at it look for that idea because of the move order and the way we got to this position. So I guess one lesson is there: you should be sensitive to the position of the pieces and not so much how they got there. The history doesn't matter; they're there, and you've got to deal with them. And then the third point is that moving the piece away is what really enables it. So when I did that, I was looking at what I could do, and I didn't look at the weakness of that move. The funny thing is, I can pretty distinctly remember that I did a blunder check before playing knight g4. I looked at where all the pieces could move. I just forgot to look at that bishop takes h7 check idea. So anyway, that's a long discussion of one point, but it's a critical point in the game, and also it's the kind of thing I'm trying to fix in my game. This is the reason why I don't get as many points as I might otherwise. So anyway, I played knight g4, he took, and this is also an interesting position. There's two choices here. I can take the bishop, and then he will take the knight, or I could just move my king to h8, and then he could still come in with the knight, or maybe he could just retreat the bishop. Either way, I'm down a pawn. The question is, what's the best way to play it? Is it better to take the bishop and give up the knight, or try and keep all the material on the board? So if you want to pause the video here and think about it for a while, it's, I think, an interesting question to ponder. Okay, in the game, I decided to go ahead and take the bishop, and the chess engine thinks that's the right answer. It thinks it's pretty close, though. I mean, basically, both of those are, leaving white with one pawn plus an attack. And the thing I noticed about moving my king to h8 is that I was never really going to get to take this bishop, so I was never going to be rid of that annoying piece that was always behind these latent threats to my queen. Because if, for example, he hops into knight g5 and I take, then queen h5 is crushing. This is just game over. So I had calculated that far ahead and realized I was never going to get rid of the bishop. So it didn't really do me a whole lot of good to hang on to that knight. In fact, the knight was going to have to retreat back to f6. Although it would be another piece around here defending it, but white has a preponderance of pieces. This is a pretty good-looking attack. Anyway, this is the chess engine prefers the answer I played, which was to go ahead and take the bishop, get rid of one of the attacking pieces. I'm going to lose this other attacking piece. So the king goes back to g8 because, I'm going to lose one of my defending pieces, but I've also gotten rid of an attacking piece. And now this next moment is the next critical moment of the game. What is the best defense in this position? And so this is worth thinking about. And I still had time. Let's see, we're on move 19 in the game, and things have been going pretty smoothly up until my mistake. So I had, I'd used up the normal amount of time, but I was, I still had half of my time left, which would be around 50 minutes. So time to think and find the best move here. So if you want to pause the video, see what you would come up with. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. The best move for black is to play bishop to e7. Just keep this idea of trading off one more of the attacking pieces in reserve. The chess engine gives this line: queen to h5, threatening here, and bishop takes, queen takes. It's interesting that queen takes rather than bishop takes, but apparently it's not so easy for the bishop to assist in the mate just in this particular configuration of pieces. And then the queen queen takes b2 is the somewhat cheeky answer of the chess engine. I really would not have thought of that. For one thing, he can play rook here and then grab this pawn, I guess, and that looks pretty scary. But the chess engine rates this as better for white, but just about 1 point better. So it's like white is a pawn up, but not immediately winning. Anyway, I played the move, which is second or third best, not the best move. And I missed something when I played this move. Rook to f6 is what I played. And my idea was, I thought the queen would come to the h-file, and I would just bring my rook over here to protect the h-file. And when the queen moves, I'd bring my other rook in. I thought this was a pretty good defense, but I missed one key idea, which is queen h5, and I can't actually play rook to h6 like I intended, because this check, the rook, when the rook leaves f6, it gives up this square for that queen to come in. It doesn't mate, but it loses a piece. And of course, so white's a piece up and still attacking. That's pretty simply losing. So I had to switch gears and find a defense, and there's no way to stop the queen from coming into here. But I did manage to find a move that continues the game, and it took me quite a while, but eventually I realized knight e7 would allow me to play on, and we'll see the idea here. White can check, drive the king here, check on the back rank, and then the knight can block this way, and white can win the exchange here. And I looked at it later. I thought maybe white had something better, but the chess engine approves of this way of playing. Just pick up the exchange here and continue. So knight check, and then I want to hold on to that. Well, I guess if I move the king off the back rank, that's defended, so I guess it didn't matter too much where I put the king. Anyway, knight takes f6, and knight takes f6. Let's see, so the queen ran back to h4. Was under attack from the rook, and I got my rook active with rook c2. So now, I'm just losing. I'm down the exchange and a pawn, and my kingside position is a mess. But white's pieces are not yet in the game. This knight still has not gotten into the game, and I have some ideas here to just try and make things a little bit complicated. Let's see, he played b3 here. I went bishop b5. So yeah, I'm going to cancel that. Went bishop b5. I'm just going to play on as long as I can find some ideas and see if he makes a mistake. But he played this part very well. Now let's see. He went knight g3. And I decided it was too dangerous to let this knight in here going after my king, so I took it off. And let's see, took with the h pawn. I went knight e4. I got the knight on a good square, and I was, having some ideas of coordinating an attack against f2 here. Notice he can't bring his rook over to defend because of my bishop. Let's see, he goes queen h5 check, drop my king back to f8, and then he went rook d to c1, and I didn't really want to trade, but I also don't want him to checkmate me by bringing his rook to the back rank, so I think this is pretty forced. Good move by white to force that trade. And now I have to drop the bishop back to c6 to block the rook from coming in. Let's see, he went queen e5 here, went king f7, holding on to my pawn. He went bishop f4, cancel that bishop f4, threatening to come in here with check and force a trade of queens. So I went queen to b5. I went queen c7 check anyway, went to f8, cancel that, went to f8. He gives another check, went back to f7. And he snagged a pawn over here. I thought this was a little bit cheeky, but apparently he can get away with this. I was thinking of the immediate queen e2, just coming in. Notice my knight and my queen are coordinating on the f2 square, but he can defend either with the rook or the bishop, so it didn't immediately gain a whole lot. I threw in the move g5, trying to keep the bishop off of this diagonal here, which was looking pretty good for him. I thought the bishop might park itself here, and I wanted to chase it back at a point when he might be tempted to defend the f-pawn, and that's what he played. He went bishop to e3, defending the f-pawn. I came in with my queen anyway. Let's see, and he played queen a5, getting his queen back in the game and threatening to come in here or here to force a trade. See, I went over to queen d2, and let's see, he came in this way. To my surprise, he came in with queen c7 check. I thought his idea was to go back to the back rank, but he was looking at my king again. Let's see, I went king f6, queen e5, cancel that, queen e5 check, king back to f7, and now this pawn is loose, but f2 is hanging too. So he played f3, kicking my knight, and I went in with my knight to c3. Now I'm looking at this fork. So he guards that with rook to e1, and I played this check anyway, and I thought he might just give up the exchange here just to simplify things. He's probably still winning, but there's no need. He actually went king h2, and the king is safe there, it's so close. I have the mating combination all set up, right? The king has no escape. I just need to move my queen from this square to one of these squares with tempo. But there's no way to do it. The problem is, say if I play queen to c7, looking at that queen to c2, looking at the h7 square, he can just take this pawn, and when I come here to deliver a check, the bishop drops back to defend. So I just am one move short of delivering something, getting a mate going. Let's see. I tried bishop b5 here, just defending the knight so that I can move my queen. He played bishop takes g5 now, and I played knight takes d4. So it's a cute little move. It's threatening, of course, this triple fork of hitting the king, the queen, and the rook. I'll take advantage of the pin on the back rank. But sadly for me, White's threats are bigger. He played queen f6 check. I went king g8. He went bishop h6. And, well, there's no way to stop the mate anymore. So I resigned at this point. Anyway, it was a interesting game, I thought. I hope you guys learned something in terms of defense and in terms of trying to look out for those tactics and blunders that can cost you games. So after 5 rounds, I'm 1.5 points. I've played 4 of the 5 rounds. I took a bye. So I have 1.5 points out of 4 rounds, 4 games, 1.5. And all of my opponents were higher rated. So I'm actually still ahead in terms of rating points. I stand to pick up a few rating points if the tournament ended at round 5 here, just because my opponents were higher rated and I was only a half point short of break even. So still not a bad tournament, although I was kind of disappointed the way this game turned out. Anyway, for round 6, I was taking another bye. So this was the end of a long day, and I didn't want to get up early and play a third game in a row. So I took a bye for round 6 and took a rest and played round 7. So stay tuned for coverage of round 7, and I will see you then.